All right, thanks for coming in. I am Gregg Bigleman. I'm with Sandvik, Applied Manufacturing Technologies. Sandvik is the corporate giant. We own Sandvik Coromon cutting tools, Seco cutting tools, Walter cutting tools, Dormer cutting tools. But I'm with the Applied Manufacturing Technologies Group. It's a division within the Sandvik blue logo that is focused on the digital side of manufacturing, all the way from OEMs to job shops, from quoting to quality. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. The scope of what we're talking about today is Industry 4.0 and how to simplify Industry 4.0, why it's broken, what we're going to do to make it better. So if that's not what you signed up for and you need to leave, I know it's lunchtime and and you're looking at me and you go, I'm not sure I want to be here. If you want to leave, just feel free to leave at any time, but make sure the plane comes to a full stop and you wait for the pilot to turn out to fasten the seatbelt signs, okay? I fly a lot with Delta, so I have these flashbacks, and you'll probably notice that during the speech or during this conversation that I'll have these flashbacks and I'll go squirrel and I'll go off to the side. So just bear with me a little bit on that. So I got to turn this thing on too, don't I? I got to rely on my guys back there to tell me what I'm supposed to do. All right, so let's talk. First of all, everything we do at Sandvik talks about safety, so we got to talk about safety. So we got to do a safety review real quick. So if some kind of alarm goes off, you're going to be behind me because I'm out that doors faster than you can. I'll probably take that piece of plexiglass out when I go out. So I'm out and gone. The second thing is I was told by the SME group, and thank you SME for having me here. I was told that we're taking attendance. Okay, so have a seat. Here's how we're taking attendance. Everybody smile. There we go, one more. You gotta do the selfies, okay. Now, and also, before we get started, those that have ever heard me before, I don't see any familiar faces in the group, but those that heard me before talk about this kind of stuff, one of the things that my pet peeve, and we'll talk about my history in a little bit, is inventory management. So I have a question. Don't answer yet. The answer comes at the end, and I'll take requests at the end. But who manages inventory best in the world? Some say Amazon. Don't shout out, but some say Amazon. Some say Walmart. But I want you to think about that as we go through, because I think we got an answer for that. All right. So we've done the safety presentation. We took attendance, and I gave you a question to think about. 3 things. All right. I am an old manufacturing guy. I've been involved, I turned 60 just last month, and I have been involved in manufacturing for 43 years now. I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina, where you say yes ma'am, no ma'am, you say thank you, and you drink sweet tea. So when I started, and I've got 4 degrees. I got a degree in industrial engineering, a degree in business administration, an MBA, and a PhD in motivational management. But I'm here. So, all right. So, but I started in manufacturing at age 17, and I was drawing burning patterns for an optic eye torch, and I was doing plant layouts, and then they wanted to get me into NC programming at that time, where you hand wrote G codes. Anybody in here actually program machine? I had to hand write G codes on a quad pad. No, I had to type it into a flexor writer and print out the friggin' tape. You made a paper tape, and then if it actually worked and you didn't crash and break something, you made a Mylar tape. So that was what I want. So, but thanks to promoting incompetence, I got moved up to management. So I did real good. So that's the only way I got up into management. And I apologize, I have to keep going back to my notes because otherwise then I get squirrel. So again, I'm not a sales guy. It said in that previous slide that I'm the VP of sales and all that. I never wanted to be in sales. I'm an operations guy. I never wanted to be in sales. I'm not a sales guy, operations guy. Sales guy is going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. Okay, there is a big difference in that. Also, what you're going to hear today is what my bosses referred to as anecdotal tales of adventure. And being from the South, I had to look up the word what anecdotal meant. I had no idea what it meant, but I wasn't sure if I was offended or not. So Anecdotal tales of adventure, but these are my adventures. These are my tales. So I hope you get to enjoy it. All right? Let's see. So let's talk about Industry 4.0 a little bit, or what they now call it's I 4.0, or now I4, and how it came along. So when I was preparing for this, I Googled Industry 4.0. I thought I knew what it was, but I Googled it, and wow, the internet is just amazing and full of just wonderful, wonderful things. So I had an opportunity to look and say, what is Industry 4.0? So I got to find out that, so this gradual combination of traditional manufacturing and disruptive technologies and all that. And I'm okay, I got to dig a little deeper into what I4 is all about. So then I found this word cloud. And I got even more confused. I had no idea what's going on with it. And then I'm thinking, it's all I can do to remember my password to my ATM when I put the credit card in. So this has me confusing, because now you're talking about cyber technology and robots and all that, and all the other speeches that I've heard up here. They do an amazing job, but there are a lot of engineers that talk up here, and so that concerns me. So I started searching a little deeper. Now I get to, what is digitization all about? It's fragmentation, complexity, waste, all this kind of stuff. And I'm still confused. So I search one more time, and I get, that's what a smart factory is supposed to look like. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that worries me, because there's a cloud, and there's computers, and there's robots, and there's all these connecting lines. And if the laser worked, I'd show you, I'd be able to point at it, but it doesn't work on TVs. So I'm looking at this, and if one thing breaks, what happens? All I know is when I have two sons, they're old and gone now, but when they were growing up, if you lost the internet at the house, oh my God, everything fell apart. You could, cable TV went, oh my God. So if you're running a factory and one of those things go out, what happens? And I'm just going, oh my God, this is crazy. So, I don't know. Being from the South, I long for the days of Mayberry. Anybody know the TV show Mayberry? Never heard of the TV show Mayberry. The cameraman knows about Mayberry. I long for the days when a guy named Goober could fix your car. Or Gomer. They also had a Goober. They also had a Goober. Gomer. And a sheriff didn't have a gun, and the deputy sheriff, he had a gun, but the bullet was in his pocket. So, and Sarah could connect your phone calls. You just picked up and said, Sarah, connect me with a diner. Now I've got this bloody thing, and I have no idea how to use 1/10 of it. So, I long for the days of Mayberry. But then I was wondering, how did we get here? How did we get from that to that previous slide? So, let's talk a little bit. I fly Delta a lot. And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen a lot of sunrises and sunsets thanks to Delta. Watched a lot of movies on Delta, which means also, did you guys know if you sit at the back of the plane, the screens are bigger on the TVs? Everybody thinks first class got the big screen TVs. You sit at the back where I have to sit, the screens are much bigger. Because as soon as you sit down, that person in front of you leans that seat back, that screen is about that big. Right? So, you got the big screen TVs back there. So, and I tell my boss, I can't work when I'm flying on a TV because you got me sitting back there. I can't work because when that screen is back and you lay down you put the drop tray down, if you're trying to work on a laptop, you're like a friggin' T-Rex. So you can't work on an airplane. But I watched all the movies, watched all that stuff, and I'm going, there's got to be something on better to watch. So there was a Nat Geo special that they had on Delta, and the geek in me said, okay, I'll watch it. And it was on the history of communication. So in the next few slides, you're going to see what I plagiarized. I borrowed from Nat Geo for this presentation, okay? So how did we get here? And a lot of what Nat Geo talked about, the history of communication, I was able to relate to manufacturing. Let's see if you guys can too. So, their concept was the history of communication. Humans stand alone at the top of the animal kingdom or the top of the food chain. Our power over our environment is unparalleled today, but what makes us different than the rest of the animals in the animal kingdom? What makes us different? I used to think it was opposing thumbs to be able to pick up stuff. Well, that's not according to Nat Geo. Nat Geo says what makes us different is communication. And it's our mastery of communication. And I like to think we have a mastery of communication, but I work with a lot of, sometimes in the organizations I work in, I don't think we're so good at it. But it's the power over complex thoughts. It's those that are the engines of success. But their definition, what makes humans, is communication is what makes us, us. So, and those of you sitting on the back row, you're in trouble. You want to move up here now because later on in the presentation, I start picking on you people. So you're fair warned, you're sitting on the back row. So communication is everywhere. Again, I refer to these things. I was told when I served squirrel, sorry, I got off track again, but when I got into manufacturing and I was promoted to a leadership role, I was thought I would get an assistant. Well, they were called secretaries back then, but I thought I'd get an assistant. Instead, I was handed a laptop and a phone, and that's your assistant, right? And now you can't get away from these things. So all my emails here, I can't get from one place to another without this thing because it's got my calendar on it, it's got everything on it. So communication, and we're hit with waves of communication all day. And look around here. I mean, you're bombarded just walking around here with all this stuff that's going on. So has this mastery of communication transformed us? Has it really? Let's go back 25,000 years and start this adventure again. So it goes back to the cave. I can't say caveman days, can I? I have to say cave person days. The ladies in the back are saying, I got to say cave person days. All right. So it started with the tribes writing on the wall. And they would put things on the wall about how they hunted, how they fished, how they farmed, how they did the different things. And they wrote this on the wall for that tribe. But the neighboring tribe had different ways to hunt, ways to fish, ways to farm, or best practices. And they didn't share that. So one tribe may have prospered, but another tribe right next door didn't because they didn't share communication. Starting to get an idea, ladies in the back, starting to get an idea where I'm going with this? All right, I'm getting some head nods. That's good. That's good. So I looked at that. So the organization as a whole, humankind, failed because we didn't share that information across multiple tribes. It was bad, yes. So does it sound familiar? So we're still in the, I think, and I can say this because, again, of anecdotal tales of adventure and 43 years in manufacturing, we haven't evolved much since the cave person days, have we, in the manufacturing environment? All right? You got beer down here. Man, I'm jealous. So let's talk a little bit about another adventure on this. We are hit with so much information. So let's take this into the manufacturing role. I was an operations manager, director of operations and all that. And you go in manufacturing plants today and they're bombarded. All the management are bombarded with so much information, they don't know what to do. I remember back when I started as a lonely manufacturing engineering technician drawing on a drawing board, you know, not on the computers and all that, but on a drawing board. And the plant manager was a very large man that used to play for the Canadian Football League named Mr. Gordon Beatty. And Mr. Beatty smoked cigars. and walked around the plant. That was when you could do that. And I would be at my drawing board, and he'd walk up behind me, and he'd blow smoke right at me, and he'd come back, and he goes, "Your name came up at your boss's office today." And he'd walk away. And so my paranoia that I still deal with today lingers. But at that time, plant managers, operations managers, they were gods. They ran the plant. They were, you looked up and you, oh my gosh, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I still want to be that when I grow up. But he told me his theory of management was, and I quote, MBWAA. Management by walking around aimlessly. And he would hang out in the shipping department, not because there was a pretty lady happened to be back there, but because, as he put it, if things aren't going out the back door, then I need to work my way back up the process chain and find out what's going on. And because he walked around, because he was not in an office, because he was not tied to one of these things, because he was not tied to a laptop, because he was not sitting looking at Excel spreadsheets and spider charts and trying to make all these decisions based on that, he could walk around. He knew where every bit of the inventory was. If you asked him, I'm missing this piece, oh, it's sitting out here on that shelf. He knew where that was. He knew the names of all the employees. He knew their spouses' names. He knew what was going on in their lives. Today, operations managers, manufacturing managers, they never get out of their office. They sit in their office. They don't know what's going on the shop floor because they're reading the spider charts and the graphs and trying to make those decisions. So, no more management by walking around aimlessly. It just doesn't happen anymore. Whoa, wait a show. So let's talk about how manufacturing flow works. Manufacturing flow is very linear. It starts with the design and quote phase. That could be if you're in a job shop environment, quoting. It could be even in an OEM or tier 1, tier 2, or tier 2 operation where you quote the job. It moves over into the process where when I was an industrial engineer, we worked in the methods department. We weren't even industrial engineers or manufacturing, but you wrote the process of how it was going to flow through the operation. You wrote the CAM program, how it was going to be machined. Then you gave it to the MRP ERP system, and it was planned. Purchasing got involved. Then it went out and it was prepared and everything was put together in the tool crib. It went into production. Production ran it. It went to quality. Quality checked it. And it went to shipping and it shipped and you prayed. Right? That's how manufacturing works, doesn't it? Well, anybody ever heard the term throw it over the wall? I'm getting some connections here. So, the people that designed and quote it throw it over the wall to the process people, but they don't tell, this is how I quoted it, and this is the optimal way, because this is what the customer wants out of it. So they design it different, not talking to these people. All right? So then when the process throws it over to the purchasing people buy based on history, not based on because a Sandvik tool guy came in and sold them the latest and greatest drill or something like that. They're buying based on history, not based on this process, which is not based on that. When it goes out into the preparation where you're starting to put the tools together and you're starting to get all the marl materials and everything together, whatever this CAM programmer designed it to be, now they're going through all the drawers out there and they're going, okay, well, I don't have that tool. I don't have that combination tool. So now I got to do 2 tools. I got to do this extension. Now I got to go back to the CAM programmer. Now I got to redo this. So, all right. Then it goes into production. By the time it gets to production, what you got, 3-day lead time? Right? She's laughing. So at least I hit a nerve. When it goes to quality, it sits in queue and quality checks it with 1 day left to go. Then it goes to shipping and we pray. Isn't that how manufacturing works? Is that what you're experiencing today? Please tell me yes, because that's what I'm seeing. So, Industry 4.0 in my mind is broken. We haven't evolved since the cave person days. We're still throwing it over the wall and nobody's communicating. We talk about Industry 4.0. We talk about all these buzzwords and all this kind of stuff. It's broken. So, there's lots of solutions out there in search of problems. all these platforms that the customers have, the security issues of all this digitization and all that stuff. And there's an infrastructure within most manufacturing plants that can't handle Industry 4.0. It's too complex. They just can't do it. So, what do our customers say? Our customers say they want to solve the fundamental problems of manufacturing. They want manufacturing to move from the K-person days, to digital and connect all this, but make it simple. They need a roadmap, and don't sell them a space shuttle. Well, it'd have to be a used space shuttle now, but don't sell them, a spaceship. So, we have worlds colliding. We have industry, manufacturing, and digital looking for the key to unlock. Right? So we have a dilemma. We saw that manufacturing is a linear process. Here is what I feel is the right solution. Based on my anecdotal tales of adventure, manufacturing needs a closed loop, digital loop. It needs to start with design, preparation, execution, evaluation, and then continue that loop. It is not a linear process anymore. And it has to be an easy process. It cannot be a complex process. It has to be something easy. It has to be something that's a closed loop. It has to be something that we can jump on this loop and go on this merry-go-round at any point we want. So, here's my thoughts on a digital loop. Let's start with design and planning. So there's quoting at camp, design and planning, and now we digitally send this information on how we should make it to the preparation, to purchasing, and all that. So the CAM programmer, first of all, should be able to look in and see what the inventory is on the shop floor. Most ones I go to, if you go into a tool crib, into a manufacturing environment, you will see the CAM programmers down pulling through drawers, looking at how to assemble tools and what it needs to do that. And it's not just tooling. It could be in welding. It could be in assembly. It could be any of the things on the process planning. But whoever is in the quoting and the process planning stuff needs to be able to see the inventory. In addition to that is if somebody comes in the quoting stage or the production planning stage, or as a manufacturing engineering like me, says, I got this better widget, I got this better way to do stuff, we need to be able to communicate that to our ERP, MRP systems. We need to be able to communicate that to purchasing to let them know, first of all, I got why do I have all this excess inventory out there? I need to either use it up or sell it or do something with it, or I've got this new widget, I need to plan it in so that the purchasing department knows about that, not just thrown over the wall. Then it moves into production, and if we do this digitally, production now has much more lead time because everybody gets to see this process all the way through. We move it into quality. Quality is changing. Quality used to be, when I was growing up back in the Mayberry days, quality was you put it over, it was in the center of the plant or it was over in the corner of the plant, and you put it over there and you inspect in quality and you checked it, and then it went to shipping. Quality must move in line now, and it's moving more and more in line on the manufacturing environment because quality has to be part of this entire loop. Then you report back how the quality went. But one stage we need to evaluate. We need to look how we did. Job shops, for example. A job shop environment, when you quote, normally they're small shops, 50 to 100 people. The owner of the shop does all the quoting. I don't want to say wife. I got to be very politically correct. The spouse does all the bookkeeping, all that kind of stuff. So they do all the quoting, but they don't, when they quote a job, they go, well, that's kind of like one that I already did, but I didn't get it, so I'm going to lower the price a little bit so that I can beat the competition and get it. Or I did get it and I lost a lot of money, so now I'm going to raise the price. So And then when they do get a job, they panic. They go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So quality and the report back and all that, how we did, has to make it all the way through the entire loop. So what should this really look like in the real world? Oh, one other thing. If you can connect all this to one central database, now everybody's working from that one database. There's no need, because normally quoting is done on, everybody tracks inventory on Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that. But if you can do it on one database, now when you enter this process or you demand this is what it needs to do, they can see it, production can see it, everybody can see it on one database. You enter the data one time and you're done. Makes sense. One database managed the entire thing. So, in my world, this is what it looks like. These are all the players that are on the outside of this digital loop. And the cool thing about this digital loop is inventory management, as you heard early on, is my pet peeve. It is my pet peeve as an operation manager. But a lot of people say, I want to get CAM programming in. I want the CAM programmer to see the inventory. But if I don't have my inventory under control, then how can the CAM programmer see it? So the idea is you jump on this merry-go-round at anywhere in this digital loop that you want. You jump on it. If you want to get your inventory under control, you partner with these people, you get your inventory under control, and then you can work backwards in the food chain or the digital loop, or you can work forwards. You work adjacent around the loop. The savings that you generate by this pays for the next savings. But you start small and you build on those successes. Then if you have a central database, you can jump across the loop. You don't have to work adjacent. If you want to go from your inventory to now getting your quality under control, you can jump across the loop. And there's multiple ways to do that. Now, I like this. This is the first time in my 43 years that I've actually seen this work. And one of the things I will tell you about, there's a lot of products on this loop. And I have to do a very selfish plug for one of the products that we have within Sandvik Applied Manufacturing Technology. So I apologize for that, but we don't record this, but we all have bosses, so I need to get this plug. Prism, we just soft launched that 2 weeks ago. It is, and if you want to see it, I'll be glad to talk to you later about it, but it is where you can do CNC programming on this thing. It is the coolest thing. After having to write G-codes and all that, you upload the step file and you tap on the surface that you want to mill and you pick the face mill and the G-codes are created. I can show you that. I was able to download the app and learn it and be able to program parts in an hour. 3-axis. Not 5. It's not CAM. It's CNC programming, 3-axis machine, which what we found out that most programming of 3-axis machines are done by the operator standing at the machine, and you're not cutting chip. But you can do it here. So, I'll show it to you. All right? So, let's talk about the market. This is where I want you to be a little bit careful, because in the market, everybody's value selling. Everybody talks about the problems, and value selling is about problems that customers can't solve or don't have the time to solve or don't even know that they have the problem. I go into a lot of places and when I ask, do you know what your cost per part is? I said, sure. I go to accounting on the third day of the month, and they tell me how much I spent, and I divide that by the number of parts that I produce. That's my cost per part. In my world, I call that an autopsy. That's after the fact. You want to know your cost per part before that. So, most customers don't even know that they have problems. So, be prepared. You want proof of value. And I'll tell you from an operations guy, I'm not a finance guy. You don't want me in your finance department. You don't want me around computers, but you don't want me in your finance department because there's this thing about hard savings, soft savings, cost avoidance, all this kind of stuff. Stick to hard savings. Only savings that hits the bottom line. That's what you want. So be careful about that. So with all the buzz going around, here's why the buzz is going around. Make sure I hit this right. Globally, the machining market, and I know this because of Sandvik, is almost a $500 billion business. And because that is such a big carrot on the stick out there, you're going to have a lot of companies going around promising the gold ring, promising snake oil. So beware of false prophets, okay? Beware of solutions in search of solutions in search of problems. So make sure that you partner with the right people that you know and trust. Okay. So, takeaways. Find a company that you trust, one with a proven track record of full offerings around the entire digital loop. Find one that is a true solutions provider, not somebody that is just part. And you want that full loop. There are other companies out there that say that they offer a loop, but when you look at their marketing material, it's basically a flat line with half a loop in it, which is a ditch. So you want to be aware of that. You want to be developing real cost savings. You want to create long-term partnerships for success. You want to be able to step onto this digital loop and fix something and then move around that loop or move across that loop. Start at one point on the loop, make the savings, and work on the adjacent functions around the loop, and then success builds success. Now, I asked a question early on, and I have like another 300 slides if you got time, but let's talk about inventory management is the key to success in my mind. It is the silver bullet that kills the vampires of inefficiency. I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning one time, thought about that. So back to my question. Who manages inventory best in the world? Mothers. Mothers do. I agree with that. Amen to that. The post office manages okay. In my mind, when we're talking about Amazon, when we're talking about Walmart, when we're talking about mothers, when we're talking about the post office, who I think manages inventory best in the world is my bank. As little money as I have in my savings and checking account, that banks manage inventory. They do nothing else but manage inventory. The problem is manufacturing operations don't think of what they have around as money like banks do. You can't legally you can't walk into a bank and just get a whole stack of 20s without doing paperwork or without doing all that. You just can't do that. But why can you go out onto a shop floor and get anything you want? It's free range. Inventory management is the key to success. That's my anecdotal adventure, okay? So, how am I doing on time? I got 5 minutes to go through another 300 slides, huh? I'm done. Any questions? I did good, no questions. Thank you for being here. I know it's the last day. I know I got you at lunch and all that, but thank you for coming by. I do appreciate it. If you'd like to talk about anything afterwards, I'll hang around for a few minutes. All right? Yep. Thank you. Thank you, sir.